Boukrouh, a PhD student at Azmani University. Today I will be presenting my contribution to this conference titled Multi-Criteria Decision Making for Supplier Selection in the Digital Age, combining AHP and TOPSIS approaches. This presentation has 5 parts organized according to the following plan. After the introduction, I will present to you some criteria and methods used for supplier selection. Then I will explain the methodology followed in our study. The first part is the center of the presentation and will focus on applications and results. And finally, I will end with a conclusion and some future works. So, supplier selection importance is reflected in the fact that it is an essential tool for marketplace management. And these elements lead to the choice of the following problem. How to select and evaluate suppliers within a marketplace. To be able to answer this question, I broke it down into 2 sub-questions. The first deals with the selection of criteria to use in supplier selection process, and the second focuses on calculating scores for each supplier. So these are some criteria and methods used for supplier selection in previous studies. For our study, we used the AHP TOPSIS method, and to solve the problem, we followed 3 steps. First, we select criteria and their sub-criteria. Next, we use the AHP method to evaluate these criteria. And finally, we employ the TOPSIS method to rank suppliers. So the first step of our methodology, we defined our objective, then we select the criteria. In the second phase, we made a comparison matrix to evaluate this criteria. Then we calculate their weights. If they are appropriate, we move to the next step. If not, we go back to the first one and adjust the criteria. The last step is evaluating the options. We begin by dividing the criteria into 2 groups. Then we use a calculation process to find the approximate coefficient for each option compared to this criteria. And finally, we rank these options. So by following the methodology we have just explained, our goal is to choose the best suppliers from the first available on a marketplace using AHP TOPSIS method. To do this, we selected 7 criteria, each with 3 sub-criteria directly related to the suppliers, namely quality, price, delivery, reputation, service, financial position, inventory management. So the hierarchical structure of our study is as follows. Now let's move on to the second phase, where we apply the AHP method. We construct this matrix based on the results of a survey conducted with a group of experts using the SATI scales. To ensure the validity of this matrix, we follow these steps and calculate the consistency ratio, which should be less than 0.1. So the results obtained confirm the consistency of all our methods. So once we confirm the results, we rank the criteria and sub-criteria based on their weights, which led us to the following results. In the final phase of our methodology, the first step is to categorize the criteria into 2 groups. To apply the TOPSIS method, we use an input matrix that includes 4 suppliers. Each of the suppliers has a value for each sub-criteria. Next, we proceeded to calculate the approximate coefficient by following these steps. So we found these results, and this is corresponding ranking. In conclusion, we employed a hybrid approach for supplier selection. We used 7 criteria, each with 3 sub-criteria. The results indicate that quality, price, and inventory management were identified as important for making the best decision in supplier selection. As for future works, I plan to integrate other methods to optimize our decision making, like BOCR and ORSOT. So these are the references used in our research. And that brings us to the end of presentation. Thank you for your attention.